Okay, start recording. Okay.
So I share the screen first, is it? Let me start sharing the screen. Oh God. I think I've gotten out of it. I don't know what I've done. That's it.
Should I stop recording first?
Just a sec. Let me just rejoin. I don't know what I've done. I can't.
I can pause if you want.
Yeah. So I start sharing my screen. So to do that, share screen. Okay. Yeah. So I'll share screen first.
Okay.
Oh, okay. It's got the wrong.
Like that.
Yes. Can see.
Yep. Yeah. Escape. Yeah, I think we can start now. Yeah.
Yes. I've started already.
Okay. So really, I'm going to talk today about my work, which is an intersection of art and technology. So art, science, and technology. So I'm going to talk about how my work occupies like the three different spaces. That's Earth, space, and the Metaverse. And so I've actually divided the whole presentation into these three groups. So my art philosophy is finding common threads that connect and bind people. And it's based on multisensory interactions. It is a universal language of symbols based on our origins and ancestry. So you find that diverse cultures have borrowed the same elements from nature, their surroundings, and each other. Extensive travel and migrations over thousands of years have led to established trade routes, a transfusion and assimilation of ideas, exchange of knowledge, art, science, and philosophy. So this collective consciousness seen in our cultural and language symbols reflect our shared ideology, those of existence, creation, and communication. So what you find is our symbols usually have a central core or axis, and this is seen in all aspects of our life, be it cycles of life, our networks of interaction with friends, family, our community. So your universe literally means you and your universe, your interaction with your family, your friends, your communities, and your networks. So you are defined by your DNA, and that's really a spiral that you can see is reflected in the shape of our galaxy, which is also a spiral. So you see these forms that repeat, from the infinitesimally small to the infinitely large. You find that there's this repetition of shapes and patterns or ideas. And so what you can see is like fractals, for instance. You see the same shape, it's repeated at every scale. You find this repetition of form, and you find them in mathematical concepts as well. And you find that there's an interdependence of opposites, like, in our cultural symbols also, you see this interdependence of opposites, like in the yin and the yang, you have the male and the female. So this is seen in cultural symbols all over the world. And you find that it can, our existence connects us to all that surrounds us, be it energy, space, and time as we perceive it. And worldwide, we share the creation of a mathematical, verbal, and artistic language. And in my series of paintings, the interaction series of paintings, I created just 5 designs to find resonance among people from all walks of life, geographies, races, and beliefs. So really, it's a universal language of symbols that uses basic shapes, like those of triangles, squares, circles, spirals, also numbers and colors. And this is really what defines each of us, wherever you're from in the world. So the first section really is about like my work in the space on Earth. So like I said, I've divided the presentation into 3 sections. So carry on. So our eternal curiosity to understand and navigate our universe has inspired our art and science, and the inspiration, and it's also the inspiration for my 5 symbols, which you see here in the interaction series of paintings. So I have only like 5 shapes, and each of the 5 shapes is created in 3 different colors. So the idea of, you see the same form, but a change of color might change your perception of what that form is about. So these paintings are really about a pattern of existence, the world that exists both beyond and within our bodies and minds. And these symbols are really based on different interactions, interdependence, movement, creation, light, and energy, everything that defines us wherever you're from. So you find that these color perceptions obviously change from person to person, culture to culture. And so that is why it connects with pretty much everyone from anywhere in the world. So what I did was I converted those hand-painted works into line animations, just to explain the concepts in my paintings. And these line animations led to this large-scale installation on the Suntec screen, which used these line animations. And I'm going to play a video of the same.
I think Latif needs to be muted.
Okay.
Lakshmi, I think we are not hearing the video.
Latif, can you mute yourself?
Okay. So that actually gives you a clear idea of how each one of the paintings is created with just a single line, and each form is created in 3 different colors. So at the moment, I'm also working on creating mega cubes, and this is really about an art and technology collaboration. And these are huge cubes that are 3 by 3 by 3 meters. That's how I envisage them. And they are meant to connect Singapore with the rest of the world and to space and the metaverse to create a network that connects people in all spaces. So what I intend is that they spark conversations, educate and inspire people. And cubes in a specific city will have a significance for the people in that city. For instance, if you are from Tokyo, I would use the color Edo purple because that would be something that would connect to the people in Tokyo. Or if you belong to Copenhagen, I would use a copper patina so that it reflects the skyline of the people in Copenhagen. So each cube would have something that connects the people of that city to that particular cube. So it also connects back to Singapore in the end and then to space. I'm currently working with scientists at NTU to create the very first of these mega cubes. And that's really where the moon cubes originated. So I have these 2 phases. That's the first phase where I'll have cubes in different parts of Singapore. And in the second phase, I'll have the mega cubes in different cities in the world. So I'm going to talk about the next space, which is space, and my art that inhabits that space, which is on the International Space Station at the moment. So space really could be our future home in a world of collaboration, communication, and interaction, where we continue to explore the real, the imagined, and the unknown. I have 2 sculptures that are on the ISS and will go to the moon by 2025. These were created in mind, the harsh conditions on the moon, because ultimately it goes to the moon. So I knew that when I created a sculpture, it had to last in space. And when you look at the moon, it has these extreme temperatures because a moon day lasts 2 weeks and a moon night also lasts 2 weeks. So because of that, you have a temperature that goes as high as almost 130 degrees, and it could go to as low as a minus 130 degrees Celsius. And in certain parts of the moon, it might go to as low as minus 250 degrees Celsius in some areas, some spots near the poles of the moon, because And these actually end up being some of the coldest temperatures that you find on the solar system. So it's that cold on the moon and that hot. So I knew that I had to create works that would last the time on the surface of the moon. So these sculptures use a number of ideas that connect humanity. So they're universal ideas, and each shape is associated with an existential concept. So like you have the singularity of the self, the duality of complementary sides, the trinity of creation, existence, and dissolution, alternity of direction, plurality of our belief systems, and the infinity of thought. And so these are the ideas that I had, and they have been translated into shapes that connect with these concepts of singularity, duality. So their shapes, like singularity is just a dot, or duality is two sides, and trinity is a triangle, alternity is a square. So I have connected them to shapes, and I'll play a video so that the concepts are clearer. So that gives you an idea of what all the concepts in the interaction cubes are about. So I had two collaborations with the Nanyang Technological University and the National Additive Manufacturing Innovation Cluster, that's NAMIC and NTU. And my first collaboration was with Professor Daniel New and his team to create the interaction cube. And what we did was together, we created a number of prototypes in all kinds of materials from Inconel, nylon, aluminum, titanium, mild steel, and different manufacturing methods from 3D printing to die casting to wire cutting. So we tried all kinds of different techniques, and finally, and of course, each of these materials had different weights, and I wanted it to be as light as possible. And I also wanted it to be orange in color. And we settled on aluminum because I got the right color, and it also was the lightest material that I could make. So it was just a 1.25 grams in weight. And you can see that's what the final piece looks like, and that's the one that's going to go to the moon. And simultaneously at NTU, Professor Daniel and his team also created a number of other prototypes, which included the entire interaction series, and they created those in Inconel using 3D printing. And I'll just show you a video of that, of the printing process, so you can see how technology was used to create these works. So this is really laser powder bed fusion technology. So you have a layer of powder that's laid out, and then it's it's sort of melted in place. So it's done layer by layer by layer. So it's called laser powder bed fusion technology. And this was also used in the creation of my next cube. So after that, you can see on the right, you have the finished cubes, and then all the dust is kind of brushed off from it. And then it's taken off from the base. So I had a second collaboration with Professor Matteo Seita and his team. And so this was, again, using laser powder bed fusion technology, and it couldn't have been done with using any other method. And it consists of two crystals with distinct reflectivity, which varies with the observer's viewing angle. So it's based on your viewing angle and the source of light. So based on these two factors, you will find that the surface has different lighting. So like you can see here, there are two different colors, even though they're on the same face. On the extreme right, you can see the cube looks almost like a mirror. So it's only because of the kind of light that's falling on the surface and your viewing angle that makes it look like it's two different colors. And so this level of detailed control could only have been done with the laser powder bed fusion technology. And this was meant to embody the duality of the moon that you see. My paintings are also about duality, where you have two sides, and each shape has got only two distinct sides. And this is something that you see in the moon, where the moon has got two sides. The one side that has always faced us, because the moon is tidally locked to the earth, so you always see the same side. And the far side of the moon is not visible, has never been visible till space travel finally revealed it to us. So in a way, this cube really represented the whole idea of duality that we see even in the moon. And what is also interesting about the moon is that we see the moon in different shapes, because you see from the new moon to the full moon to all the different crescent shapes of the moon. That view of the moon is really based on our viewing angle from Earth and the source of light, the sun. And that is exactly reflected in this cube. And so what you see is really two distinctly oriented crystals with different reflectivity in the two sides. So each side has different reflectivity, which is why you see it in two different colors. And I'll show you what the cube looks like. Oops. So you can see that as the cube rotates, it's turning pink and blue, and the next face again, it's two different colors. And this is because the face of the metal, the two different sides, reflect light in different ways. And each of the faces has got a shape based on the interactions painting. So you have the first cube face, which is a labyrinth form of nested squares. And that's really about the layers that we as space explorers are trying to unravel to discover the enigma of the universe. The second shape, it's called a windmill, because windmills are all about energy, and we exist because of energy. Our entire existence is based on energy. And so really the spiraling form represents that energy. The third cube face, called the Nautilus, is really a reflection of our DNA and our galaxy, which is a spiral form. And the fourth face of the cube is divided into two triangles, which is really about the two different sides of the moon, the two distinct phases of the moon. So the interactions cube and the reflections, the structure and reflectance cube are now on the Moon Gallery. And the Moon Gallery is the first extraterrestrial and space gallery that's at the moment orbiting Earth on the International Space Station. And so you can see that's the International Space Station. The gallery, in collaboration with NanoRacks, flew to the International Space Station aboard the NG-17 rocket as part of a Northrop Grumman Cygnus resupply mission, and reached low Earth orbit, which is the final frontier of human habitat. And this is on 19th of February of 2022. The gallery will remain on the International Space Station for a period of 10 months, where it'll offer a diverse range of materials and behaviors for camera observations. And it'll also be a valuable learning experience for future space artists. I'm going to give you a few fun facts about the International Space Station. So the International Space Station actually travels at an altitude of 400 kilometers above Earth, which is, I mean, quite a distance. So it's really at what they call low Earth orbit. And it orbits the Earth 15 and a half times a day. And it is the third brightest object in the sky. So you have the sun, you have the moon, and then the third brightest object in the sky is actually the International Space Station. So it can be seen with the naked eye. It also travels at a crazy speed of 27,580 kilometers an hour, which is 22 times the speed of sound. So that's an incredible speed, and which is why it gets to orbit the Earth 15 and a half times a day. It's a multinational collaborative project between mainly 5 participating space agencies, which is NASA, Roscosmos, JAXA, ESA, and CSA. So that's really the USA, Russia, Japan, Europe, and Canada. And the image that you see here is of the gallery, which has 64 artworks, where I have 2 artworks within this gallery. And you're seeing this with the backdrop of the Earth. And the gallery is actually literally floating in space within the International Space Station as it's orbiting Earth. Now, both these artworks originated at NTU, and it was a product of the collaborations I had with the 2 NTU scientists. And NTU commemorated the launch of these very first Singapore artworks in space, and we received extensive press coverage in Singapore and internationally. So here you can see, I have the 2 scientists who worked with me, as well as Ms. Goh was the chairman of the board of NTU, and Ms. Indrani Raja was the chief guest who inaugurated this event. So I'm talking about the last space. So I've talked about my artwork on Earth, my artwork in space, and now the last space that I have my artworks in is the Metaverse. Now, in the digital world of today, a lot of our interactions are going to be in the Metaverse, and our own behavior patterns have changed during the pandemic, with a large segment of the workforce working from home for the last few years and connecting in the digital space. And this trend is being viewed world over with large-scale adoption by companies and brands who understand that our future interactions will be within this space, whether we're connecting with people or shopping, or quite a lot of our interactions are going to be within the Metaverse. And what I did was I created NFTs based on my 5 interactions designs. And these 5 designs in space have the unique distinction of being in the first gallery in space, and the first NFTs that have their counterparts in actual space and as well as on Earth. So it's really like a first. And the other interesting thing about these NFTs is that these NFTs are right now have their physical counterparts in traveling on the International Space Station. And the International Space Station can be observed flying over any city every few days. Even sitting here in Singapore, every few days you can actually see it flying over in the sky across Singapore. And there is a website where there's a NASA website where you can actually track the space station as it flies over Singapore. So you can literally say that, you have art that is there in metaspace, it's there in space, it's going to be there, across the world, and it's also traveling all of habitable Earth, and you can track it as it travels over you overhead. So I'm going to play the NFT for you. So what I did was each of the NFTs, this is actually one of the 5 NFTs. So each NFT is an animation with sounds and also space sounds incorporated in it. So I finally have another series of NFTs that I'm working on currently, which is a series of shoes. So I've been working on this for a number of years, and I've created a book, and they're based on hand-painted ink on paper paintings of shoes, which are designer shoes, as well as shoes that I have designed and painted. So these are some of the shoes. And my idea was that these these works are going to again have their counterparts, not just in the physical space or in the real world space, but they would also have counterparts in the metaverse or in the digital space. So my idea was to create a buzz and social conversations, explore spaces, style, art, design, and technology, to create a whole new digital, immersive, interactive experience that's translated into the real world. So when you have these shoes, you can have like fashion shows in the digital space, and you can also have. I also plan to have fashion shows in the real world space where you see these shoes being worn. So if you buy one of these NFTs, you can also buy a 3D version of that NFT, which can be worn as, and these shoes can be worn in the metaverse, where your avatar can actually wear those shoes in the metaverse, and you can also own a real shoe and wear it in the real world. And so you can also display these paintings as collectibles, as real art in the real world, or as NFT art in the metaverse. So the entire range of 105 paintings have been converted into a book, and the book. So I have 3 collections. So I have the physical book, which has got QR codes with each painting, which connects you. It links you to the marketplace in the metaverse. I also have physical shoe paintings, 105 of them. And then I have limited edition prints of these paintings. And then all of that have their NFT counterparts, where the book will be available as an NFT, limited edition. You'll have the paintings also as NFTs and as 3D versions. And then there'll be the rare shoes, which are also converted into real shoes. So you would have customized bespoke shoes. And I'm creating all of them in 3D, and I'll show you what one of them looks like. Yeah, so that's actually all of my work in the 3 different spaces. So thanks a lot for that.
Wow, Lakshmi, do you sleep?
Not yeah, so that's what I'm working on right now. So yeah, so all of the 100 shoes, or at least 70 of them, are going to be converted into 3D versions, which is what I'm working on right now. And then I'm also talking to NTU, where they will make some of the shoes.
So that last image that we saw of the shoe, is that a real shoe or a simulation of a shoe?
That is a 3D shoe that I've made. And
when you say a 3D shoe, though, that digitally or real?
It's digital. It's
right.
Digital. Yeah.
Okay.
But it'll get made into many of them are going to get made into real shoes. So what happens is that like I said, your avatar on the metaverse can wear that shoe and walk around and go to a party or go for a fashion show, or you can hang the painting of that, or you have a 3D version of that revolving around like that, or you can actually have that as a real shoe in your size.
Yeah.
So that's
it's across all dimensions in a way.
Yeah, all dimensions, yeah. So my job right now is sitting and making all of those shoes, because when I make it, it has to be really proportionate. And then when I give it to a manufacturer, I start working with NTU on it, then it'll have to be accurate, because it'll have to fit a real person,
yeah,
and in the right size. So I've got 3D lasts, and then what I do is I actually create all the views in 2D, and then I convert that into 3D, because first I get all the right views so that I get all the proportions right, and then I start converting that. So it's a huge job.
It's massive. It's massive. Oh my God.
So the book is more or less ready. So I've did the book in InDesign, and so that's more or less ready. The cover is more or less ready. I have a couple of things left, and it's ready to go. And then the physical painting's also there, so then that'll have its limited edition prints with it.
So you've already sort of had the exhibition for the physical paintings.
Yeah.
Do you intend to like bring it all together again?
Yeah.
Sort of thing, because it's different, you know, it's different now, isn't it? It feels like they've kind of grown up in a way and matured into lots of different iterations and beings.
Yeah, so I'm talking to a company right now, and so we're still in talks with them, and they do see it all coming through, you know, all the different stages, from the NFT to the physical shoe to the digital version, as well as coordinating, like say have a, like I said, you know, a fashion show that's there in the metaverse, but you also have a real fashion show with real people wearing it, not just your avatars wearing it.
That is a really big thing at the moment, though, isn't it? Is like having your avatars dressed. I know there are a lot of designer brands who
starting to do
exactly do that and sell more in their in the metaverse than
So in this case, what's happening is that I'm actually translating from paintings to limited edition prints to a real shoe. So it's a completely different approach from, I guess it wouldn't have been done before. So that was the idea. And then of course the interactions, paintings and sculptures are also going to get converted into all these different, into shoes as well. So that's another step. So it starts inhabiting, like that's why I divided into the 3 spaces. So it's inhabiting all these. So they also have that distinction of being the only ones in space, as well as, you know, being in all these other spaces. So that's the whole idea.
And you know, with the cube in the gallery in space, can the astronauts go and look at that little gallery?
Yeah, they can play around with it, so they can just kind of move it around. So that's what they've done. They've just left it hanging in space, and they have photographed it with Earth in the back, you know, because there's actually Earth in the background. So it's one of the astronauts, obviously, who's photographed that.
Yeah. And you know, the mega cubes, are they in specific locations? Has that been decided yet, or is that still?
It's not been decided. I think the first one would be at NTU, because that's really where it started. I mean, everything started there, and it was created there, and it's where I had to create collaborations with 2 of them. So I'm speaking to the very first professor I collaborated with, Danielle. I'm speaking to him about creating the next one, because each cube I want to have like a technology element to it. It could be acoustic, it could be, I mean, you know, different elements. It could be a levitating cube. It could be, I mean, it could be all kinds of things. So it's really about who I collaborate with. So so he's obviously thinking about it, and I have to wait and see what we come up with eventually, because the collaborations have been great, because, you know, you get, I mean, working with great minds and really brilliant people, it's been good.
I'll shut up now and let somebody else.
Yeah, I have a question regarding the shoes design. I mean, it's a great concept to sell everything as a package lah, because I think that's probably a way to make art both digital as well as physical. But just wondering, why start with shoes?
Well, I always found shoes very fascinating, and I'd been designing shoes for like many years. So many of the designs are really old, actually. But I'm surprised, because when people look at it, they say, well, it's very new and fresh, which is probably not the case, because I've done many of them like 15, 20 years ago as well. So I only compiled it like 1 or 2 years ago, you know, and then I thought, okay, I'll just do a book. And I just find that shoes are something that, you know, people find very fascinating, especially high heel shoes, and they made pretty paintings. And then when I thought, like, why not take it to the next level and actually create them? And it seems to be coming through now. I mean, obviously when I was doing it 10 years ago, I never thought I was going to do an NFT with it. And so it's just sort of come together at this time, I think.
Okay. Yeah. So are you working with any fashion houses for the physical shoes?
I'm hoping to collaborate with someone eventually. Yeah. So I've been I've been thinking like, yeah, I should, because I want to do other things as well, because I am a fashion designer also, besides being an architect. So I like the fashion design element also coming in into the space. So yeah, it could be fashion as well, not just shoes. Yeah, I'm not going to restrict myself to just shoes. It would be fashion, other
Yeah.
areas also, architecture. Yeah.
Yeah. So this does sound like a very exciting concept lah. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it's quite unusual. So when I was doing the interaction series, I said to myself that it's going to inhabit different spaces. So not just it wouldn't be just art, but it would be something that you could eat, something that you could walk in, walk on. So that's why I have carpets that you can walk on, shoes that you can walk in. So it interacts with you. So it's called the interaction series. It interacts with you in every kind of way. So technology, there's a technology element to it as well. So that interaction of art and technology. So interaction in all ways and all spaces.
Yeah. That gives me ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, so food,
Thanks.
food
Thanks.
and beverage. So there's and what I usually do. I mean, that will be another presentation. So I actually create everything, like all the elements. Like if it's beverage, so I create the cans and the bottles and everything in 3D, so that you get a visual picture of what it looks like. And yeah, same with food, mooncakes. Yeah, I mean, it could be so many things. So
Okay. Thank you.
welcome. Any questions? Yeah.
Maybe from one of our new joiners who are here for first or second time. You have any questions for Lakshmi?
No, I think.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear.
I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah. Sabani, you have a question?
Uh, no, I wanted to tell that it is fascinating. Still, it is like, still it is forming inside the brain that, how the concept, how you are thinking and all that. So it was nice to hear from your perspective this thing, because otherwise, I think, at least I could not have thought only that way.
Oh, thanks.
Like it's that that metaverse, that part. Okay, so all that, definitely very fascinating. It was nice to hear from you. So no really question that way, like quite in yeah. So wish you all the best.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Okay.
How did you, sorry, just one quick question. With the world of NFTs, how did you find the actual act of trading in NFTs? The actual, not the setting up, but the sales part of it. Is it cutthroat? Is it easy? Is it sort of is it macho? Is it like the stock exchange? I mean, what is it like?
Well, actually,
you sold out, didn't you? You sold out of your
Actually, to be honest, I'd have to thank my husband, Gurtouch, because he's a superb marketing guy. I mean, he's quite brilliant at that. And so, yeah, it was difficult because a lot of our friends, I think there's a generation gap, and also the art. When you think of the art market, people who buy art in the physical space are now the people who buy NFTs. So they are very, very different people. So to get them interested in your work is not easy, and to do that very quickly. So he did a great job of that. And not just that, one of the biggest problems that we faced was that people were not able to, get the hang of using cryptocurrency. So to set up a wallet, then actually buy. So many of them were getting, they kind of withdraw when they found that it was not easy to do, because they had to create a wallet, they had to buy Solana. I mean, the whole thing was in Solana. The currency was Solana. So then to actually buy Solana and then buy the work, so they had to be really like, he had to do a lot of hand holding, especially with a lot of friends, to get them through the process, because even though they were keen to buy, many of them would end up not buying because of the whole process, because it's new. And I do think that at the moment it's a new idea, so it takes time. It's like wearing masks, initially it takes it takes time, and then after a while it becomes part of your life. And but with the next collaboration, what we are hoping to do is that it will be currency agnostic, where you can buy it in pretty much any cryptocurrency, or you could even buy it in, say, US dollars. So you could actually buy your NFT in using US dollars, or pretty much any. It'll be currency agnostic. So we're hoping that the next time it's going to be it's going to be easier.
So you were kind of feeling your way with it as well, really, in terms of how all that.
Yes, I'm obviously getting to know the space myself, and thankfully, I realized I couldn't have done it on my own. If it hadn't been for Gurtaj, I would not have bothered to do it. I would not have bothered. I wouldn't have been able to do it. So it's really important to have a good marketing person, because it really takes a lot of time.
Right.
And it's not a space that I wouldn't say it's great for any art, especially people who are doing like physical art, because it's a very different market for the two spaces. So yeah, to really cross over from one space to the next is not easy. But yeah, I found that the challenge and also the interesting thing about it.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. We are all finding our way around. I guess we all talk about NFT, but we are really quite novices at it. So, I mean, yeah, and I guess a lot of consumers are also, just heard about it, but they're not too comfortable yet, especially after our Deputy Prime Minister mentioned something about retail investors shouldn't invest in cryptocurrency, So that sort of put a little bit of dampener for us, the locals here.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of apprehension. I was likening it to money as well. Traditionally, like when you shift from money where it's gold and silver, where the actual value of the gold coin or silver is based on the value of the metal, and then when you shift it from that to to paper money, paper has no value, so it's a perceived value. So again, when you shift from one to the next, there's always that perception that takes time for you to to get past and get over. So there's always that apprehension when there's something is new, and then at some point you don't know what it's like. COVID triggering this whole change of lifestyle, or even the fact that the fact that NFTs are doing, have become much more popular during the whole COVID period, or the fact that people working from home has become much and using the digital space, or even Zoom calls for that matter. Like I didn't think I would be doing a Zoom call 2 years ago. But then now, it seems like an everyday kind of thing that you do. You get on a Zoom call. Yeah. But I wouldn't have been able to imagine doing that 2 years ago. So that change of thinking, you never know. It can happen quite quickly. Even that change of thought, to pick up something new. It might not take that much time also. I don't know for a fact.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have any last questions from anyone of our audience? Or we are good for tonight? Okay. Seems like I think it's quite clear about your sharing, and thanks a lot, Lakshmi, for doing a round two of your sharing with us, an update on what you have done so far, and we are truly impressed with your work to represent Singapore.
Yeah, thanks, really distinguished. Thanks everyone for coming and listening today.
Yes. So thank you, and I think we'll call it a night now, and then we'll send out the recording to the rest of the community.
Yeah. Okay. Good night.
Okay. Good night.
Thanks, Lakshmi. That was brilliant.
Oh, thanks.
Congratulations on all your achievements. Amazing. Just amazing.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Bye.